Welcome to Speak Your Truth, a podcast created to promote self-awareness and unlock your potential, giving you the strength to live your truth.
Hey guys, welcome back to Speak Your Truth. This is me, Ryan, and I'm here with Aaron.
Hey, Ron.
And last week we talked about self-belief and how important self-belief is to, well, almost everything. Because if you don't believe in yourself, what are you really going to accomplish? This week we're going to talk about decisions and how important decisions are. And the fact that even some people don't know that not making a decision is actually a decision.
Definitely still a decision. I used to struggle with that a lot.
Yeah, and we're going to kind of touch on that a little bit because there's times where I'm in situations where I'm trying to make a decision for something and I just don't know what decision to make. And in the process, I'm making the decision to not make a decision. That right there is going to be the easiest way to fall into a hole that is really hard to get out of. Because when it comes to mentality, if you don't stay consistent with what you're doing, then you tend to lose sight of what your end goal is.
I was talking to a buddy of mine. Literally earlier today, I struggle with paralysis by analysis. I'm so busy taking stuff in, trying to decipher it or understand it to the nth degree, to the point where I've made my decision to keep searching instead of start acting. And I need to be more productive at getting out of my own way and making not a decision to do nothing, but a decision to do something. I think we were just talking about, what was her name? Mel Robbins. Mel Robbins. And she's got an awesome idea, and her rule is the 5-second rule, where anytime you have an idea, you have 5 seconds to act upon it. And that action could be as simple as writing it down, just taking note of you've had this idea. It could be to act out whatever that idea is, and from that, instead of the paralysis of analysis, it forces me to just do something. Don't ask permission, ask forgiveness, and take some chances and be more present, more out there, more go-getter-esque.
Yeah.
That's a good way to describe that, or not.
I like the concept of, don't try to be 100% positive on stuff. As long as you're 70%, maybe 60% action. Action is really what it boils down to. So if you can decide to do something instead of nothing, then at least you're going to figure out something. Either you're doing it the wrong way or you're doing it the right way. Either way, it's a win. Because if you just sit back and kind of let life happen, you're never going to get anywhere. It's kind of like the concept of, I don't know if anybody's heard this story before, but the guy on the boat that has a opportunity to put a sail up, but he's not sure what direction he wants to go. So he never decides to put the sail up, and he just kind of drifts in the water. Ends up dying, which is what, that's nobody wants that, obviously. If he was just decide to put the sail up and he would go in a direction, at least he would have an opportunity to get somewhere. It may not be where he wants to go, but at least he's somewhere instead of just drifting in the water.
Kind of like you never know till you try.
Yeah, it sounds cliche. Like there's a lot of things out there that really sound cliche, but the reason they're a cliche is because they've been around for so long and the philosophies behind them, they're pretty accurate.
One of my favorites has always been Wayne Gretzky.
Oh, yeah.
You miss 100% of the shots you don't take.
I love that. That's a great example of what we're talking about today. When we make a decision not to make a decision, that's where all ideas die.
It's still a decision.
Yeah, that's where all ideas die. And if you can create the habit of actually making a decision, then who knows? You could end up somewhere where you never would imagine you'd end up. Right now we made a decision to start this podcast, and we're sitting here in my living room doing this podcast, and it's pretty wild with all of the things that we could be doing we're doing this podcast. So yeah, back to Mel Robbins. Actually, I want to talk a little bit about Mel Robbins. The way that the brain works, she describes it as the brain tries to trick you, and what that means is not making a decision is really what the brain wants to do because it's easy. Because a lot of the things that you need to decide to do are the hard things. You know, whenever it's something difficult, like she mentions about having kids, which I can relate to. I have two myself. And what you're trying to do with your kids is you're trying to get them to do the things they don't want to do. Clean your room, brush your teeth, all those things. You have to figure out a way to coach them to do the things that they don't want to do. And when you're an adult, you have to actually parent yourself in the exact same way, which is why a lot of times you don't make those decisions, because those decisions to do the things you don't want to do, they won't kill you.
Our brains are hardwired for survival, and it's just kind of cool when you kind of take a step back and think about it. Nowadays, the last thing any of us really worry about is surviving. So with our bodies and our minds hardwired for survival first, and that not being an issue, we have all of these things going on which send so much clutter and issues to our thought process, our focus, and a lot of times we're living lives that are almost too comfortable because our bodies, our minds are so happy within that state, it never wants any kind of change. Like, it's hard to make the decision to wake up at a certain time or go work out or not eat this or go talk to that person, whatever it may be. And your mind is actually doing you a service, but you have to understand that it's doing it first to then counteract that and then do it fucking anyway.
Well, it's like living intentionally. If you want to, say for instance, something simple like ask out a girl, your brain is going to convince you it's not a good idea because it's difficult and your heart rate goes up. Your body is sensing that there's danger somewhere.
A potential threat.
And it's not like Aaron was saying, there's no saber-toothed tiger. You know, there's no massive thing that's coming after you that's trying to kill you, so you don't need to be in survival mode. You need to rewire your brain, change your, I believe it's called the reticular activating system. I don't know a lot about it, but I learned something about it from a guy named Tom Bilyeu who has a show called Impact Theory. And if you can rewire that to then, instead of feeling nervous or anxious, you feel excited and opportunistic instead of the bad things, you take that as a good thing and you go after it. But it's hard to rewire your brain. All you have to do is, like Aaron was saying, you have to be aware of it. And if you're aware of it, you can then start to think a little differently. And one of the things that Mel does is she says if you count backwards 5 seconds, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, it changes the way you think, because normally you count from 1 up. Change the way you think. It gets you in a state of, all right, this is something new, I need to learn this. Your brain goes into learning mode, and then you can create that muscle memory with the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and then you get up and do that action. Whatever it is, write it down. If it's to get out of bed, because a lot of times your alarm goes off, you shut it off and you fall back to sleep because it's not important enough for you to get up. But if you can rewire your brain, it can put you in a state of learning and it can create that new habit.
It also sets up a scenario for little wins. If there's something that you know that you need to do or should do or want to do, but you always find a way to talk yourself out of it by counting it down, you basically give yourself 5 seconds to either win or lose at that scenario. And what's cool is, just like we talked about last week, feeding off those little wins and building your confidence, and really just taking that confidence as it accumulates and creating momentum out of it, and then just rolling, man.
Yeah, momentum is key. You know, the concept of inertia, you just keep going. When you can get one win, then you get that hit of dopamine. It makes you want to get the next win and the next win. Humans are built for the endurance, to keep going the extra mile, but without that need for survival. Typically, people will get that hit of dopamine from a Facebook post, a like, a comment, something like that is going to fuel that. So you can get that hit of dopamine from your couch now, which is a dangerous thing. It is very addictive. And that also aids in making a decision not to make a decision, which is still a decision. Thoughts become things. I don't know if you guys are familiar with the movie, The Secret, or the book, if you prefer to read it. It is about manifesting things that you desire, manifesting the life you imagine, manifesting whatever situation that you want to be a part of. It's not about sitting on a couch and thinking about it and expecting it to happen. It's kind of like when you buy a brand new car, right? All of a sudden you start seeing that car everywhere. It doesn't mean the car wasn't there before. All that means is now you're setting your mind to be aware of the situation. You may never know. Like if you're looking for a job and you don't have a particular job in mind, you're probably not going to get a job. It's probably just going to be something that falls in your lap that is not really what you want. But if you have something in your mind specifically of what you're looking for, it typically will reveal itself. Same thing with the car. You buy a new car, you start seeing that same car. That car was always there. That car, it's not like it all of a sudden appeared out of midair. It's all about awareness. So if you put your thoughts behind whatever decision you want to make, you can actually create whatever life you want, whatever situation you want. It takes work, and that's why most people don't do it, because it's not magic. But at the same time, it is magic because...
Say you want to get a new car. Even before you get that car, you'll start to notice that car everywhere. And it's not like those cars haven't been there the whole time, but now that you've refined that focus, you'll notice things more consistently. But that's your brain helping you, because by refining that focus, all of a sudden the things that you need to get to whatever goal that is, whether it's finding that car or finding that job or creating the lifestyle that you want, like all the things that will lead you to that, start to, and you can refer to them as manifesting themselves, but to me it's just more, you notice them. Like all of a sudden these opportunities just line themselves up for you, and it's kind of like it's magic, when really it's yourself doing exactly what it's built to do. Imagine you go back to the whole survival basis of us. Like what we used to do is run around and, for one, try not to die, and two, feed ourselves to continue to live. So as a hunter-gatherer, what would you notice from that? The deer that you needed to go kill, or the berries that you wanted to go find that you could eat that weren't poisonous.
Yeah. The certain terrain that they were found in.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So to me, that's more of what The Secret is, or like the whole thoughts become things.
I like how you interpreted that. It's a lot simpler than a lot of people think it is, because the brain is the how. And let me explain that. If you've ever seen a supercomputer in a building, it's probably going to fill a huge section, as tall as a wall, huge hallway, just fill it up. The biggest supercomputer ever is the human brain. It already knows how to do everything. It has all the answers. But if you don't make yourself aware of what you want to get clarity, your brain is never going to help you get to where you want to go. Now, most people just want to be comfortable, and that's okay. Your brain's going to help you be comfortable, and chances are you'll be comfortable. If you set yourself up and you want to be successful in something, your brain is then going to find ways to help you become successful. Once you have clarity of vision, and that's the key, vision. If you don't have vision, if you can't see it in your mind, if you can't have the thought in your mind, it'll never come to fruition. It's one of those things that they say, careful what you wish for. You want to really be specific what you want, because chances are you'll get it. If you say, I want more money, you'll get more money. Here's $1. You need to be specific. I need to make X amount of dollars per month so I can do X, Y, and Z. Then things start happening. You start figuring out ways to create that income. A lot of people, they just say, I want to be happier. How much happier? 2%? You need to really refine specifically write things down, make a decision. Once you make that decision, you write it down, put a date on it, your brain starts to go to work. Now, a lot of people think this is hokum. Well, fine. If you try it and you think it's hokum, chances are, in your mind, it's going to be hokum. But if you try it with intention in mind, like honest to goodness intention in mind, there will be progress. It may be small. Not everything is going to be this massive change. It's going to be small changes over time. That's the whole Warren Buffett compound interest thing. That's where the money's made. It's made in the small things over time. If you document what you're doing, you document all of your decisions that you're making, and then you look back on it, then you'll see something come through.
Very well said. I like the way you describe it in terms of asking more questions, but then asking the right kinds of questions.
It's very important.
You have to be willing to ask those questions first for that vision to start to kind of come in line, and expect contrast. Like, things aren't always going to be easy, but there's benefit in that, because when something goes wrong or you don't like something that you may have asked for, the whole idea is to learn from that, to redefine that vision, to give yourself more clarity from that, to, again, back to refocus and guide you to where you want to be.
Once you realize that making that decision to do something, and whether it's right or wrong, there's something is going to come of it. You're either going to learn something or you're going to succeed in something. It's probably the most power that you'll ever have is to make that decision. Because if you can just decide that you're going to be a certain way, just decide that that's who you're going to be, and no one's going to stop you, eventually you will become that person. Because honestly, we live in a society where you can do anything you want. If somebody says if somebody says they want to be a rodeo clown, what's to stop them? Would I want to be a rodeo clown? No, but someone out there is dying to be a rodeo clown. Other people want to be investment bankers. Go to school, become an investment banker. What's stopping you? A lot of people say things are impossible, and I actually take that word impossible and I change it to I'm possible. Because impossible is really not a word. There's really nothing impossible. There's just things that haven't been figured out yet. Once you figure out how to win, and you realize that it's the journey, it isn't necessarily the destination. Making that decision is the start of the journey. So that's really that's when you win. When you actually make the decision to start on whatever journey you want, you win that day. And you just have to keep winning as if there's footsteps chasing after the same thing you want. You just need to continue to motivate yourself.
Thanks for joining us. If this message has moved you in any way, all we ask is you take 3 steps. 1, take action. 2, tell a friend.
And always speak
your
truth.